today we want to show you R and RStudio that you're going to use a lot in the future. And next week's also we are going to show you single cell RNA-seq data analysis. In the last week, actually, you need to learn R to understand how they are doing the analysis. So Arthur and Jake are going to show that. And next week, we're going to show D browser it's also R package. So I'm just going to exit here. So, but to be able to use R, there are a couple of things, and there are some pain too while installing some packages. So there are many dependencies. Sometimes those dependencies are not updated for the new RStudio or R version. So, and then you might be in trouble. So, but when you have those kind of trouble, maybe we can talk those things later in another session. But here today, we want to show R. And so we have some instructions here that how you're gonna start learning R. So if you have no idea about R and R commands, so a couple of things I want you to show you what we have in our cluster about R. So there are a couple ways to do your analysis using R. One way is using R cluster. Sometimes you need a lot of memory or CPU power better than your own laptop. And in that case, you can use this link, https www.umassrc.org 444. So the port is 444. So if you go here, I'm just going to show you that version. So I'm going to log in. So you need to log in here with your cluster username and your cluster password. So once you log in there, oops.
And we basically want to do the same thing. We want to run an RStudio server on a cluster. And to do that, we are going to use an interactive job. So what this page does is that it allows you to open an interactive job with an interface, where the interface is basically the RStudio. So you actually use the cluster as we have used before, but you don't have to deal with the terminal. You can directly use RStudio for the cluster. So we go on to the interactive sessions. It's quite easy to understand. You just have to click on RStudio server, where we're going to initiate an interactive RStudio job. So basically, the parameters for running an interactive job is similar to what we have done when we first learning how to run interactive jobs. You can choose the version of R. As Alper suggested, sometimes it is really important because there are some packages that only works for some versions of R. So our system actually allows you to run RStudio servers with different R versions. But now I'm going to choose the newest one. For this one, you can choose any kind of queue, but we're going to go with the interactive one because it's going to be the most useful, because you want to interact with your RStudio server. You can limit the number of hours that you are going to use the interactive R. It's mostly 4. You can, just say 1 if your job will be done in 1 hour, right? After 1 hour, it's going to terminate itself. But let's say for now, let's say 4. If you're not going to run anything parallel, you don't really have to raise this number. It can be just 1. And this is the amount of memory that you want to use. The maximum limit is 400 gigabytes, but for now, we don't really need it this much. Is this good, Alper? Shall we talk about something else? Okay.
No, that's good. That's good. Thank you. This is what I wanted to show.
Shall I launch it or stop?
No, I launched it myself, so I could find my password. That I always write my password down, and I looked at there.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, I'll stop sharing then.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you launch, does it take you to the same like interface as the RStudio?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
But you are going to interact with it from the browser, but not from your local computer, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Alper is going to show you that. I'll stop sharing.
So yeah, so I connected. What I did was like, I clicked here, RStudio server,
Okay.
and when I start, I came to this page. And what you need to do, you need to press this button, connect to RStudio, and then you will, it will open another page like this. But in your case, it's going to be empty. I was working on here, and it will bring you the last thing you were doing. So that's the good part. Like the session is still open here, and my environment is loaded, so I can continue working on this RStudio server. So when you have the desktop, when you shut your server down, so it's going to stop. But in this case, it's going to run for hours. So for whatever hours you selected, but the environment will still be loaded next time when you start a new session. So this is our studio interface. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you a couple of things here that very useful. Let me, my, more, okay. So here, what I'm just going to close this for now. And so when you come here, most likely it is going to be clean. So I'm going to clear the console. So you're going to have something like this. So there are things that you can clean, your history, your environment. I'm going to clean everything here. So I have nothing now. And you can see your files. So there are sections here on the bottom right. So you have your files in your cluster. So that's why when you process your data in the cluster, sometimes it's good to use this version, like UMSRC 444. We have another version, RStudio umassmed.edu. This is a machine in the cluster. So, but they don't want us there anymore. So they're going to kick us out. But till they kick us out, you can use this RStudio umassmed.edu. To be able to log in here, you need to use your email username and email password, lowercase. Password is not going to be lowercase, but the username is going to be the lowercase version. So, but they're similar, but the files here not going to be the same. So you have to mount or talk with us to mount one of the directories you want to use in the cluster, and then you can access those files there. But here you can see your all home directory in that UMSRC or 444 version. So I suggest using this, and I'm using that myself too, because you just get an interactive node and you use it, and then when shut it down, the session is still going to be there. So it's very cool functionality that our admins are installed for us. So the good thing here is that you can in the future, if you want to create your own RStudio yourself with the functionalities, with new packages and stuff, you can actually do and launch it from that image that you created yourself too. So this is for advanced user, but there are unlimited functionalities that you can use in our cluster using this RStudio interface. So in RStudio interface, what you do is basically you are going to use R here. This is just an interface to use R, but there are other ways to use R. For example, you can load the modules in like module avail. I'm just going to show you some R modules. There are many, where is that? R modules available here. Where is that? R, okay. See, there are different R versions here. So for example, if you see like a package used in R333, but it's not installable for R61 anymore, so you can always load this old R version and then use it. So there are new R versions, for example, 360 or 4, they have 404 GCC, for example, this one. So what you need to do is just when you load this in the cluster like this without RStudio, you can still use R. See, I load it, and then when I press R, see, now I'm using R version 404. So now I can do some R operations here. For example, 1 plus 1, oops, not gonna work. 1 plus 1, 2. So you can do many things that I'm gonna show you what else you can do here in R. So it's the same thing here. So this is actually calling R using the user interface. And it gives you many functionalities. See, 1 plus 1, and it did the same thing, 2. So, and there are a couple of things I want to show you. Today, for example, we're going to work on a couple of files. We're going to open them, and we're going to plot stuff today. But let's learn what R is and what kind of things you can do with R. Just to get in some things. So, for example, when you write anything, when you see this symbol here, this is your command prompt, like dollar here. Like dollar is your command prompt, and you can write your commands here and then go into the program. So this is for R only. So you cannot run any Linux commands here. Only R commands will work here. For example, help. See, it's going to show the help. But R is different than Linux. So the commands requires these kind of parentheses while you're running them. So I'm going to tell what they are. So these are all called functions. And then when you run the function, you get the response from that function. It help, in this case, for example, you can get the help. Or for help, for example, you can use question mark. For question mark help, for example, it will give help about help. So, or any other functions you are using, you can use this question mark that I'm gonna show you what they are. So let's start with, for example, a couple of things in RStudio. So I'm going back and forward here just to show you they are the same. And once you understand why you're using RStudio, what kind of functionalities bring you, and you might choose using this. But while running an R script you already prepared in RStudio, then you can run that R script using R from command line too. So what we do here, so there's this file section. You can create a new file, and it's going to be, for example, R script. You can learn R Markdown in the future to create some PDF files, for example, using your analysis and share with other people. So you can learn these kind of things in R. Let's start with R script. So in R script, so how you can create is like new file. R script will create a new page here, and here you can start writing your scripts and save them. Save, for example, there's nothing written here, but I'm going to save as, so to my home, for example, my R script.r. So it's going to be on my home here. See, it's here. Now I start writing stuff here. When I start writing stuff, see, turn to red and star means you change the file and save it again. Okay, so I'm going to, for example, write something 1 plus 1 here. Same thing that I wrote here. But see, I couldn't execute this yet. So when you want to execute this line in your R, there is something you have to do, is like command return. See, it just moved this command into the terminal here and then run it. And it's 2. So this is something you shouldn't forget to do it. So for example, I wrote this, and then when I use in the other one in Windows, it should be control enter, okay? Control return or command return. So whatever it is, for example, I'm going to put a variable. I'm going to use this a variable, and I'm going to put 1 in it just to show what it is. And command return. See, I'm always doing a command return. See, I put on my global environment here, you can see I put 1 into A. And I'm going to create another one, for example, B, with 2 in it. So it's in my values, in my environment. So when I come here, like on this terminal, I can just write A, for example. See, it's 1 inside of A, and B, 2 inside of B. So when I do this, so I didn't write anything here. I can still use my terminal here down here. Also, I can write the things that I want to keep in my file to use in the future. So this is going to make it more organized. You can write commands here, do other stuff. But what I'm going to do, for example, now I'm going to put A plus B into C. So how we work is like this. So I'm going to put A plus B into C. So when I run this with command enter, see there's C and it's 3 now. So why I'm showing you this, in the future, you're going to write maybe functions, or you're going to do lots of operations here, but you only need to change the file. So for example, I'm going to change only the value inside of this, and I run this, I put 5 in it, and I will run this again, A plus B, and I put into C. See, it's 7 now, but you have to go back, do your changes, and run all affected lines from the beginning to the end to get the result. So the reason that we are using this variable is because sometimes you want to change the value in them and then use the functionalities next to them again and again, because you can use the same variable many times in your calculations. Once you change at the beginning, you can just use those chains everywhere. So you don't need to change all 5s, for example, in your script that you're writing here. So this is just an introduction to R, but today we're going to do a couple of things that I want you to do to learn. So where is our bootcamp? Okay. So I want you to learn some R basics. There is this function, for example, get working directory. So in this case, where is my working? Okay, here. So if I write here, get working directory, working, see, it's bringing me all the possible functions here. When I write this, so without parentheses, it will give you an error, or this function needs this to be able to run it. So when I do this, it will give my home directory. So this is my working directory. So, but sometimes you just want to change your working directory. For example, my working directory will be example directory. So when I'm here, this interface has this functionality here. If you go to more, you can set as working directory. So this directory set as working, see, it just did this, set working directory code, my home example. So now I'm there in this directory. So whatever I do, when I want to save this, for example, or sorry, this is not going to go there, but yeah, you need to save it. But when you want to open a file in the like in the next session, you're going to see. So when I want to open a file here, so without using the whole what's it called, whole directory, like full path, you can just use the file name here. For example, my file list.txt. So this will look for this file inside of this directory because I set this working directory here. So what I do usually to be more, I set my working directory first at the beginning. And when I start running this, it's going to set it, and then it will open the file from there. Or you can always use the full path. But sometimes this helps you because maybe you're opening multiple files, but when you move the files from here to somewhere else, and you're changing this working directory, then this code will work again without using full paths here. Just to give you a heads up when you start working on files. So the other thing that I told you was question mark. So when you want to learn what it is and how how I'm using that command, you can always use question mark and the name of the function, and it will open the help here. See, it's telling you get working directory and set working directory with the directory name. And there's an example here. And here it's the same thing. When I do this, I get the help here, same help, when you want to use the R itself. Okay, so if you cannot access here because you forget your password, or if you cannot access here because you don't have an account on this machine, or if you haven't installed your RStudio here in your own machine, then you can go to cluster or anywhere you want that you have R, just go there and start doing this bootcamp material here we have. So what you're going to do, we have a tutorial here. So Swirl is a package. So I want you to install Swirl into your environment. For example, I'm going to show you how I'm doing here. So this is going to install this package into my own local directory in the cluster. Okay. Oops. RCurl. See, when you install anything, it can be painful. It says first install RCurl. So we need to install RCurl first, and then hopefully this will work. Oh, this is not good. Yeah, so I think this R40 here in the cluster is not good. Just don't use that R40. Just go to previous version when you're launching it. It's going to work better. So this is new, I think, R40. That's why it's not going to work. We didn't test this on R40. But you can launch another one with an older version. That I'm going to do that. Go to 360. We tested on this. Should work there. But in your own environment, for example, if you install R into your machine, see, this installed real fast without any problem. And if it gives any problem like about RCurl, install that package into your own environment. Okay, so what you're going to do, maybe I can continue from here, and then you will start doing, and then we will answer your questions or installation problems at the back with Slack. So here in the bootcamp, after you install this, usually what you do, you need to load those libraries in your environment. So in this case, for example, it was installed here, and when I do this, I loaded the library Swirl. So it's going to give you some instructions here to teach you R, like some basic commands in R. For example, ls command, it says that type ls. When I type, so I get the files in that working directory, for example, or Swirl will start your tutorial here. This is like an interactive tutorial in R that it's going to give you some steps that you need to run. And then when you do it right, you're going to go to the next one. So it's kind of cool thing to learn R. But what I did here for each command there, I created YouTube videos. If you're stuck somewhere, just open it, this video that I do it for you. And so install the package and everything. So I created these videos, and what you can do when you load it, Swirl, and then you can start. So for example, what shall I call you? It's going to call me Alper, and then just read these things and understand the task there and do the tasks. For example, select 1, 2, 3 and press enter. So proceed, continue. So this is the task is this, just teaching you how to use Swirl here. So select 1, 2, 3 and press enter. So they're all the same here, just to teach what it is. But let's continue. And now it's telling you other things here, and you can write them and start. Here, I just press enter. And here it's gonna ask you what you want to learn. R programming, regression models, statistical inference, or others. So we're gonna use the R programming, okay, 1. And now it loaded all R, course installed successfully. And now we're gonna start R programming with one. And there are tutorials here, like 15 tutorials, but we're gonna do not all of them, but some of them that are here that I want you to finish, and I'll give you time to finish them. So where was it? Here. So 1, 2, 3 to 7 and 12. You can do the rest later to learn more stuff about R, but all the tutorials are here, and we will give you time till I think 11:15, and you will do it yourself 45 minutes, and then we will be back